Hey everyone, this video is about doing a literary analysis of Streetcar Named Desire so far in the play, so that as it continues, we have a better perspective of the way our analysis plays out with the conclusion. So I'm just going to pick one of the themes, which I think is the most prevalent, and that is the theme of fiction versus reality, and walk you through a PowerPoint that I've put together that outlines the symbolic value of those two ideas as they conflict throughout the play's script. So I'm going to share my screen and walk you guys through this. Okay. Now this is a really wonderful painting I just found that depicts a common scene in Act 3 or Scene 3 of Streetcar Named Desire, and the blonde cartoon figure with the mirror, of course, is Blanche Dubois. And at the table we have Stanley Kowalski and his friends playing poker and drinking. So this sort of shows the tension between the two in this one scene. And I'm going to spell that out as the play goes along. So first off, I just want to explain that we will be taking a symbolic lens at the way we look at the play. So we're not looking at any of these things inside the framework of the story alone. We're looking at what they represent for our lives day in and day out. So this is essential to interpreting the theme, that you understand what symbolism is. And that's really just when an author uses an object, an action, a location, and in this case, a character, to represent something other than that character themselves. More particularly, you have Stanley and Blanche, who stand in opposition to each other. Stanley represents reality, and Blanche represents fantasy or fiction. So this slide just kind of shows visually the two oppositions. We have the red, which represents the world of fantasy that Blanche Dubois represents. So we have the red lantern here, which she actually uses throughout the play. She uses this red light to sort of color or filter her perspective of the room and other people's perspective of her. Then we have Stanley, represented with the black font, kind of gritty, dirty, and brutal. So here I just kind of use some descriptors of Stanley inside the play and then see how that relates to reality outside the play. He's tough, he's physical, he's dirty, he's critical, he's mouthy, and very honest. He's also really funny and very loving, but tough. And these all seem to be sort of together in one person. And we have to think about the positives of this personality, of this aspect of our being, reality, that it can be funny, it can be difficult, it can be tough, it can be honest, it can be exhilarating, but also it can not necessarily care about your feelings or maybe even about you as a person at all, biologically, personally, whatever. Blanche Dubois represents the world of fantasy. She is almost always covered in lace and feathers and her orange light. And her obsession with this world and even stories, because she was an English teacher, sort of drips from every movement of her throughout the play. And even her voice tends to fancify and elaborate the core of what she really sounds like. So what are the positive and negatives of this character and this symbolic way of being? Okay, she's tender, she's full of joy at times, but also dramatic pain, belief, enchantment, but she also has a world of lies and deceit and possibly neglect that cover up the reality. So what I want you to do as the play continues and you keep reading it is to ask yourself, so what? What does this conflict tell me? And ultimately, who wins this conflict? Natural to look for a resolution. We want to know what message comes out of this battle or which side proves victorious. And I want you to not only look at the literary conflict between the two characters of Stanley and Blanche, but also between fantasy and reality in our own lives. How does this play embody current events? People who say the truth versus people who spit fantasy. What characters, stories, opinions do we accept, or which ones do we disregard, throw away, hate, and why? I think this is important to play out for the rest of the story as we keep reading, because we want to look for moments where Williams, the author, is saying something directly to us through the opposition of these characters. I hope this helps with your analysis of the play. It certainly is not the only way to interpret the play. There are a lot of other themes at hand, but to me, this was the most prevalent and maybe my favorite in the whole story. So I hope you're doing well, and I hope this helps. If you have any comments, leave them below. And if you haven't already, subscribe and hit the bell. Thanks so much. Take care.